Dr. Ron Paul.
The stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas, the prairie sky is wide and
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a delight to be here. It's wonderful to see such a good crowd here today and interested in the special values that we hold dear to our heart. I find that this campaign is awfully fascinating to me because it has, for us, been one of unbelievable success in the number of people that we have rallied to the campaign through the internet and through the trips and the visits to our colleges. Our rallies are huge, they're very diversive, and we're very pleased with that. And I'm very pleased with the reception that we are getting from young people and the willingness for them to join the Republican Party. They have not been voters before, and some have dropped out, and some have been independents, and some Democrats. But we have found that a lot of people are coming to join for the message that we have been delivering. The message is not complex, it's rather simple, and that is that freedom is much better than bureaucracy and government socialism. Freedom really works. Yeah. How do we go about achieving this goal of freedom and recognition of the importance of the individual? Well, we don't have a very tough job to figure out what to do. All we have to do is enforce and obey the Constitution. There's nothing more that's necessary. I talk a lot about the principle of life and liberty and where that comes from. We all know in a group like this that our life and liberty does not come from our government, but it comes from our Creator, and that is so, so important. But not only that, Jefferson talked about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness means to lead our lives as we choose. And in an economic sense, that means that we should have the incentives to work hard and take care of ourselves and take care of our family. But in order for that to work, I'm convinced that we have to institutionalize once again the principles that if you do work and you do earn something and you do have fruits of your labors, that they belong to you and not the government. If this is the case, the natural consequence of that would be that we reject the entire notion of the income tax and we repeal the 16th Amendment. But to have anybody defend liberty, I think it's most important that you know and understand how to defend life. And for my time that I've spent in politics as well as in medicine, I've thought this issue through rather seriously, and I've written even a booklet on the right to life issue, the importance of the unborn. And I frequently tell the story about when I was a resident that this issue came up. It was in the 1960s when abortions were still illegal, but my professor was doing abortions and permitting abortions to defy the law. And I accidentally walked into a room where they were doing an abortion, and they delivered a 2-pound fetus, infant, that was breathing and crying, and they took the baby and put it over in a basket in the corner, and they waited, pretended they didn't hear it, and let it die. That is an outrage. And unfortunately, since that time, our Supreme Court has institutionalized that, and that is why I think one of the most despicable of all court rulings has been the Roe versus Wade, and that should be our goal, is to repeal Roe versus Wade. Now there's a couple ways that can be done. Of course, we could wait until we have our Supreme Court justices appointed for them to, when the time comes, to rehear a case like that and rule differently. That's taking a long time. We've been living with Roe versus Wade since 1973, and it hasn't happened. My approach, I certainly support that, but my approach is a little bit more direct, and it could happen much quicker, and that is accepting the principle that we can, as a legislative body and as a president, we can remove the jurisdiction of this issue from the federal courts. have a bill called We the People's Act, and this addresses several subjects: prayer in school, the marriage issue, as well as the abortion issue, which literally just takes it away from the federal courts, which means any state could pass a law passing a prohibition. It could not be heard in a federal courts. Now, the question I have, and something I don't have the answer for, is I wonder why we haven't done better with this approach in Washington. I don't get the support that I think we should have. We haven't had the support in the Congress. We had the majority for a good many years. We've had a pro-life president, but we have not moved in that direction. We say, oh yeah, I'm going to appoint judges and we'll take care of that. This would go into effect immediately, and it occurs only with majority vote of the Congress. So don't give up on that method. Make sure that when you're promoting your issues and promoting the cause of life, that you remember that principle. It can be found in my bill called We the People's Act. One area that I've spent a lot of time working on throughout the many years in Congress, as well as my first tour or second tour, has been that issue of national sovereignty. I am very determined that sovereignty of this nation is very important to protect. And unfortunately, in my lifetime, I have seen it just disappearing before my eyes when you think about what's happened since World War II. We've joined the UN after World War II. We have a WTO. We have an IMF, a World Bank. We now have NAFTA and CAFTA, and now we're working on a North American Union. I don't believe we should be in any of those organizations, including the United Nations. We have been reluctant, at least too many of our leaders in Washington on both sides of the aisle have been too reluctant to enforce our borders. And yet the people want the borders enforced. The members of Congress say they want it enforced, and yet we're working on this elimination of our borders with a North American Union, the introduction of an Amero currency, and it never seems to stop. Now, my approach to this problem and dealing with illegal aliens, we all want to stop the illegals coming in. We all know we need more border guards, but for instance, I don't like border guards from our country being sent over to Iraq. They don't need to be in Iraq. They need to be here protecting our borders. But I believe you have to eliminate the incentives for illegal aliens. Automatic birthright citizenship, or amnesty. No wonder they come and bring their families. Then what happens? We have federal mandates on the states to give free medical care and free education. At the same time, we force bilingualism on our districts. We have hospitals in Texas going bankrupt and going out of business because of these mandates. I say we eliminate all the economic benefits and all these incentives for people to be subsidized to come over here. No food stamps and no Social Security and no mandates to get free medical care and free education. Most of you here probably know that I have had a different position on the war and foreign policy. My foreign policy is that of the Founding Fathers. The Founding Fathers said that we should mind our own business, not get involved in the internal affairs of other nations. Don't get into nation building. Don't police the world, because it wasn't good for us. It hurts our national defense, and I've maintained that. It's not that I'm against war per se. I'm against unnecessary and undeclared wars. If this country needs to go to war, it should be done in the proper constitutional manner. We should go to the Congress. Congress should declare the war, and we should fight the war and get it over with, but not get into war to enforce UN resolutions like we have done too many times. But our foreign policy is something that we won't be able to afford. We can't afford our entitlement policies, and we can't afford our foreign policy. We are in now 130 countries around the world. We have 750 bases around the world, and it's costing us a lot of money. Our national debt is going up $500 billion per year, and we can't afford it. How do we get away with it? Well, it's been sort of a gift to us that we're getting away with it, but it's coming to an end.